All right, Rabbi, say good morning. Let's begin. Baruch Hashem, we have a number of sponsors this morning. We have a monthly Talmud Torah sponsor and the Schus of Refuah Shalema. For Tzimir Halevi, Ben Sarle, we hope that on the merit of our Talmud Torah, he will have the complete and enduring Refuah together with Kol Cholei Yisrael. We also have a sponsor for a week of learning. An anonymous sponsor is Refuah Shalema for Shulamis Bas Susha. We hope that on the merit of our Talmud Torah, she together with Kol Cholei Yisrael will have a complete and enduring refuah. And we thank the Schwartzbaum family for dedicating the shir this morning in commemoration of the yahrzeit of Fega Bas Shmuel Zichron Livracha. We hope that on the merit of our Talmud Torah, the Neshama will have an aliyah and the family a nechama. And above say with that, let's begin. Today's daf is Lamed Hey. We are picking up on Lamed Daled Amud Beis 34b, mamish the last line, just three words left on line. Rabbi. So again, just to reorient ourselves for a moment, we left off yesterday, and actually the Gemara kind of concluded it. This is just, I should have actually just done this piece yesterday because it's really a direct continuation of what we had learned. But remember again, the Gemara discussed the idea that if a person, the Mishar discussed, if a person intentionally injures their bechar, so the halacha is that what? There is a knas, is a penalty. Well, there's a machlokas what the penalty is. Is the penalty that you can never eat the animal? Is the penalty ultimately, again, that if the animal develops a secondary mum? So we saw that's how we paskin, that once the animal develops a secondary mum, ultimately, again, the animal becomes permitted for consumption. The shaila the Gemara had is, what happens if Yaakov goes ahead and intentionally injures his bechar, and then what happens? He dies. His son then inherits the bechar. What's the status of the bechar vis-a-vis the son? Vis-a-vis the son. So remember again, about say, how did we phrase the machlokas? We phrase the machlokas as, is the din, or is the knas a din in the gavra, or is it a din in the chevtza? Is it a din, is the knas ultimately again in the object, in which case even when Ruvain inherits it, he still is precluded from using it until it develops another mum? Or no, is this a knas ultimately against Yaakov? And once Yaakov dies, the knas is no longer there. So the Gemara ended off, if you look at, we can actually look at the last line, the Gemara says, Ama l'didei kansurabanan, librelo kansurabanan. We'll say that indeed was the conclusion of the Gemara. That halacha l'maisa, when Chazal imposed the knas was on the violator, was a din in the gavra, not a din in the chefza, and therefore when the son inherits the intentionally maimed bachar, he is permitted to go ahead and utilize it immediately. Says the Gemara, Rabbi says, Naktinon, we also learn this concept elsewhere, top of Lamed Hem and Aleph, Timei Taras. Well, this is actually a very interesting case. So let's say Ruvain and Shimon get into a fight, and Ruvain decides, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be metame all of Shimon's taras, right? Let's say Shimon's a Kohen, Shimon has truma, and Ruvain goes ahead and drops a sheretz, right, into Shimon's truma. And then what happens? Then Ruvain dies. So Ruvain, the perpetrator, right? Ruvain, the metame, ultimately goes ahead and dies. So we'll say, so what's the halacha? Look at Rashi for just a moment. Timi taroso shachaveru umeis lo kansu b'no acharav l'shalem. So we'll say the halacha is, if I go ahead and I am metame someone's taras, I have to pay, right? I have to pay. Now we'll discuss why I have to pay. Watch this. So we'll say, halacha l'maisa, Ruvain was metame Shimon's taras. Then what happens? Ruvain dies. So what's the shaila? The shaila is also, when a man dies, his estate, his children inherit his debts. Right? So again, a father dies, the sons have an obligation to pay off the debts of their father. So what about in this case over here? Ruvain was metame the taras of Shimon. Ruvain dies. So now what does Ruvain's son have an obligation to pay off the knas? To which the Gemara says, Lo kansu b'no acharav. The halach is no. The son does not have an obligation to go ahead and pay off the knas of his father Ruvain. My taima. So the Gemara says, Hezek she'eno nikar lo shmei hezek. Knasa dirabanan. Lididei kansu rabanan. Librelo kansu rabanan. So this is actually quite fascinating. There's two parts to this discussion. Number one, we'll say, why is it that when Ruvain is metame the taras of Shimon, so Ruvain is chayiv. I will say there's a novelty in that. What's the novelty in that? When Ruvain is metame those taras, what has he done? What has he done? Externally, right? Visibly, what has he done? Nothing. That's called hezek she'eno nikar. Unrecognizable damage, I will say, in the eyes of halacha on a daraisa level is not hezek, right? If I key my initials into your car door, that's hezek. I slash your tires, that's hezek. I go ahead and chop down the tree on your front yard, that's hezek, right? But to go ahead and do something that changes the status without any kind of recognizable damage, ultimately, again, that is not hezek. Now, midrabanan, we knas you. Right, midrabanan, we come along and we say that no, you're going to have to pay, but it's a rabbinic penalty. And both say the rabbinic penalty makes a lot of sense. Why? Because we don't want people being metame their friends taras or their enemies taras, for that matter. Right? We don't want you doing these things to people. So both say, so what do you see from here? It's a knas. The fact that Reuven has to pay at the beginning is a knas. And what do you see? A knas is on the gavra, not on the cheftza. And therefore, halacha l'maisa, once the gavra dies, once ultimately, again, Reuven dies in this particular situation, then what? Then halacha l'maisa, the knas does not pass down to his children. So we'll say, that is indeed the halacha l'maisa. Knas is a din on the gavra, not a din on the cheftza, and therefore, again, when the gavra dies, the knas goes with him to the grave. Says the Mishnah. We'll say, there is an interesting discussion in the Rishonim that although there is no obligation on the Yarshim to pay off the knas of their father, is there like some type of midas chasidus? There's a very important concept of paying off the debts of someone who passed away. Right? Chazal teaches that the neshama does not have true menucha until its debts are paid off. So there's an interesting discussion about whether or not does this, even though knas, the Yarshim do not have to pay, is there some type of lifnim mishuras hadin midas chasidus to pay off even the knas? That's okay. It's a discussion. Says the Mishnah. So here we go. It's great cases. Maaseh bezachar sharachelim zakim v'sa'ara medulda. Listen to this. This is a Maisa. It's actually, by the way, you don't find this so often where a story is recorded in a Mishnah. See, here's a Maisa. It's Mishnaic story time. So listen to this. There was an old goat, right? Usa'ara meduldal. It was so old that what happened? It had long wool, and the wool became knotted, right? It had not been shorn. V'ra'o kasdor echad, and there was a kasdor. Kasdor, Rashi says over here, is Mamuna, a Roman official, some Roman guy, saw it, v'amar, and he said to the Jewish owner, v'amar, mativo shalzeh, what's up with your goat? Right? In other words, right, what's up with your sheep? In other words, why does it look so unkempt? So amar lo, b'charu. So the owner said, listen, it's a bachar, ve'eno nishchat ela in kein haya b'mum. And this animal cannot be shechted unless it develops a mum. So you say, I can't really, and remember again, a bachar is aser begiza ba'avoda, right? So I can't do anything with it, and I can't shecht unless it develops a mum. Not al pigul mitzara mazno. So what did the Akum do, right? What did the Chazar do? He took a spear, and he cut the ear of the animal, giving it a mum. All right. And this episode, they brought this for a din Torah. So what do we do with this? V'hetiru. And the rabbis at the basin said, it's okay. This is considered how the animal developed a mum. Now the pashtus, why? Because the Akum did this on his own. He did this on his own. So because he did it on his own, ultimately again, it's a mum. Listen to this. Listen to the Gemara says, "Va'achar she'tiru halach v'tzirei oznei bechoros acherim." Now afterwards, what happened? So apparently, this Kazdar became a very popular man, right? And he starts cutting the ears of bechor animals, right, left, and center. I'll say after that, asru. Then the Beis came along and said, I'm sorry, this is going to be asr. Rashi says, V'hetiru, share'in lomar sha'ovid kol chavim hazeh, lahatiro niskavein, share'in yodeh sha'idei mum shi'asebo yishachet, ela imkei nafam elav. So we'll say, so interesting enough, the reason why they were matrit is because we assume that the Akum just did this of his own volition. He did this of his own volition. So because he did it of his own volition, at the end of the day, the animal now has a mum. We'll say, so now that the animal has a mum, you're permitted to shecht it. Once already there's an element of premeditation, that's when Chazal came in and said, you can't do this. We'll say another story. So the Gemara says, Pam achas hayu tinokos misachakin basada. So one time kids were playing outside. First of all, it's amazing, right? Children used to play outside, right? So for a time there was a time, right? And there were no screens, apparently. There was nothing, right? They were just playing outside. I will say, listen to this old, children's pastime. The kashu znave telaim zebazeh. They tied the tails of sheep together. The good old days, right? Right. So the Gemara says, what happens? Now, what happens when you tie the tails of the sheep together? They run in different directions. The nifsekas navo shel echad, and one of the sheep lost its tail in this game. V'harihu bechar. They will say, interestingly enough, the sheep that lost its tail was a bechar. So you have a bechar bal mum. So we'll say, so same idea. So this episode came before the Chacham. The Chacham said, okay, it's a bechar, it has a mum, it's permitted to shecht it. So we'll say these were smart kids. So they saw ultimately again that their little game resulted in the permissibility to shecht a bechar. And what happens? So we'll say, so what happens? They started doing this more often, started going in fields. Some kids sell lemonade, right? And some kids, go ahead and tie sheep tails together. But the point is they kept doing this, and I will say after this became a common practice, asru. So Chazal, the Beis Din in question asred it, to which the Mishnah says, Zeh koshu l'daito asar, shalo l'daito mutter. So I'll say ultimately, again, essentially what the Mishnah says is, anytime you see an element ultimately of premeditation, Rashi says, koshu l'das shalahatil mum niskavin lahatiro. Anytime you see an element ultimately again of premeditation in something, so then the mum will not permit the animal. Anytime that it's premeditated, it's considered to be bekavana. If it's bekavana, as we already learned, that's not the kind of mum that is matir. Anytime that it appears unsolicited, right, more happenstance, ultimately again such a mum will be permitted. So the Gemara says, Pamachares hayu utzicha. So we'll say, interestingly enough, the Gemara says both cases are kind of the same, right? The akum case and the kid case are both kind of the same. So why do I need two cases? Meaning, let's say the idea is, if somebody happens to make a mum in the animal accidentally, then Allah says such a mum is matter the animal for shchita. If there's any element of coordination or premeditation, then ultimately the mum does not permit the animal. Why do I need two cases to essentially highlight the same idea? The Gemara says you need both cases. I'll tell you why. Because if you would have just told me the case of Ovid Kochavim, the lo asi lemisrach. Because I don't assume the Ovid Kochavim is going to become a custom, is going to become regular at doing this. Aval katan da asi lemesrach emalo, but a katan who could easily become habituated, right, to doing this kind of thing, I would have thought maybe the first time we should not permit the animal. Or maybe again I permit in the case of katan because I'm not going to confuse a katan or with an adult. But ovid kochavim, where you could think ultimately if the same thing happened with a Jew that you would permit it as well. I would say therefore the animal should not be permitted. Therefore tzricha. So we'll say the idea is each of the two cases of katan and akum each bring their own novelties and therefore have to both be written. Lo shanu ella, watch this. So Rabbi said, Rav Chisda comes along in Rav Katina and makes a very interesting discussion, focusing much more on the first case with the akum. Lo shanu ella, when do we say that if the akum injures the animal will be permitted for shchita? Ella de amr le ella imkein haya bomum. Aval amr le inase bomum. Kiman de amr le zil avid beimum andam. Rabbi said this is actually very interesting. So Rav Katina says like this. The akum case only works, remember, if the akum says, hey, what's up with your sheep, right? And I say, well, I could only shecht it im hayabamum, if there was a mum on it. Then if the akum goes ahead and does something to it, makes a mum, I could shecht it. But if I were to use the lashon of im naasebamum, the only way I could shecht it is if it becomes injured. Then I both say, what does that sound like? That sounds like I am soliciting his services, right? That sounds like ultimately, again, I'm telling him, wink, wink, boy, it would be so nice if somebody put a mum on this animal. So the Gemara says, Amar Rava said, Michti, Memelahu, Mali Haya Mali Naaseh. Rava says, no, that's not this case. This case, I will say, is a case of a conversation. What does it matter if the Yisrael says, if there was a mum, or if someone makes a mum? Or I should say, what's the difference between saying if there is a mum or if a mum happens to the animal? So the Gemara says, Ella na'as nami mameilahu v'loshna. So we'll say, therefore, Rabbi comes along and says, no, we don't start sparsing words like that. At the end of the day, as long as we feel that contextually, right, that situationally, it is clear that the Yisrael was not trying to solicit the services of the Akum to make a mum, then halacha l'maisa, when the Akum does it, we assume he does it of his own volition, and therefore the animal will be permitted as a result of that mum. So the Gemara goes right there. Zeh kol shul das aser. So we'll say ultimately when we say kol shul das, anything that was clearly done with intention does not render the animal permitted. What does that come to include? La suye grama. We had this in yesterday's daf. It includes ultimately cases of causation as well. So remember again, for example, if you were to go ahead and place dough on the ear of the animal, and as a result of that, that's another animal would come along and bite the first, ultimately, and go ahead and cause a mum, halacha l'maisa, that would be aser as well. Shalol l'das. So what does shalol l'das come to include? La'asuye masiach lefi tumo. Someone above said, listen to this. Look at Rashi. Masiach lefi tumo. Masiach lefi tumo also means someone who speaks of their own or on their own volition. Rashi says, she'im sha'alam kazdar mativo. Elahein atzman masichan lefi tuman va'omrim re'ei lo yishchod zeli olam. Let's listen to this. See, the case in the Mishnah is where the Akum started the conversation. What the Gemara now suggests is even if it's the Yisrael who went ahead and started the conversation, boy, it is so embarrassing to walk around with this unkempt goat, right? But what am I going to do? I can't shecht it until it develops some more. So we'll say, so ultimately the Gemara says, such a case, and if the Akum were then to go ahead and pierce the ear of the animal, so even in that case, we would assume the animal is permitted for shechita, because we don't, masiach lefi tuma means the Yisrael is just speaking freely. We don't see it as an invitation for the Akum to do something. Ultimately, in that case, halacha l'maisa, the animal will be permitted as well. So we'll say, so listen to this, it's actually very important. So the Shulchan Aruch, how do we pass halacha l'maisa? Shulchan Aruch says as follows: Im oved kochavim otinok. This is in Hilchos Bechar Behema Torah Shin Yud Gimel Sif Beis in Yardea. Im oved kochavim otinok matil bo mo me'atzmo. Let's say if an akum or a tinok or a child makes a mum in the bechar on their own, im lo kiven lahatiro. If at the end of the day their kavana was not to go ahead and be matter the animal, or their kavana was not to allow for shechita, mutter, then ultimately again the animal will be permitted. Afilu im shal lama ein shochten also veheishav lo lefi tumo sha'asr l'shachto achipa balmum aval im kivein lahatiro kegon la'acha shor shetirai dekach osim kain la'achirim aser. So we'll say halacha l'maisa. Shulchan Aruch adopts this approach, which is if it's clear that the Akum just did this on his own without being solicited, then halacha l'maisa, the animal will be permitted. If we have a chashash that perhaps ultimately that the Akum felt, or the Akum was solicited, or the Yisrael actively engaged him, or either the Akum or the Katan, then halacha l'maisa, the animal will be mutter. It seems to be the way that the Gemara feels that you could tell, the way that you could tell that the Akum is being solicited is if he keeps doing this, right? If he does 5 bechars in a day, then okay, that's a pretty good indication that something is up. But if l'maisa this is a one-off thing, and the Yisrael never directly asked the Akum for anything, the animal will be permitted as a result of its mum. Good. Mishnah. We'll say another, these are all incredible cases. Haya bechar rodfo. We'll say this is wild. A bechar animal was running after me. Right, to hurt me, right? The bechar is charging me. So what happens? So ba'ato, I kick the animal, right, to stop it from hurting me. And what happens? And as a result, va'asa b'mum. As a result of me kicking the animal, I make a mum in the animal. What's the halacha? Hareze shochten alav. Ultimately, again, I am permitted to shech the animal based on amun. So we'll say, so the novelty over here is what? The novelty is I made the mum. But I didn't make it with the intention ultimately to go ahead and what? To go ahead and permit the animal for shchita, but rather I made the mum for what purpose? To save myself. So therefore, because this was not a mum that was inflicted with kavana, therefore halacha l'maisa, I could shech the animal based on the mum. Now this is wild. Amra papa, Lo shanu ela shaba'ato b'shas redifa. So Rav Papa says, when do we say that if you kick it and make a mum, then all becomes permitted? That's only when you kick it and it's chasing you. But so listen to this. Avala achar redifa. Let's say the bechor goes ahead and calms down, stops charging me, and I go over and I kick it. I go over and I kick it. Now watch this. Avala achar redifa lo. But if I kick the animal after it's charged me and I make a mum, I can't shech based on it. Which the Gemara says, first why line pshita. So isn't that obvious? Listen to how profound this is. Ma'u detema tsarehu demitkar. So Rabbi say, why would I think that if I go over to the animal after it chases me and I kick it and I make a mum, that mum would ultimately permit the animal? Rabbi say, you know why? It is bechar chasing PTSD. Right? I might have thought, Rabbi say, it's actually a very profound yesod. I might have thought that afterwards, when I see that animal, I remember the danger I was in, I feel the anxiety, and therefore I go ahead and I kick the animal as a result of that anxiety. That's all considered to be part of the parasha, ultimately, of the animal chasing me. Kamash Shmuel, no. Kamash Shmuel, that there is no PTSD from being chased by a bechar, and therefore halacha l'maisa, if you kick it after it goes ahead and chases you, then you are considered to have inflicted an intentional mum, and therefore again cannot check the animal based on that. So the Gemara says, there's an alternate version of this discussion. Amra papa lotem b'shas redifa in avalo b'shas redifa lo elafilu la'achar redifa nami. My taima sarehu demitkar. So Rabbi said, listen to this. In this alternate version, it's the exact opposite. Rav Papa says that halacha l'maisa, not only is it okay if you end up injuring the animal when it's pursuing you, but even halacha l'maisa after the pursuit is done, and you see the animal, and it brings up feelings of fear, of tsar, of anxiety in you, and you kick the animal as a result of that, and you cause a mum, halacha l'maisa, you could shecht based on that mum as well. So we'll say two exact opposite versions as to how this works. We'll see the halacha in just a little bit. I'm Rav Yehuda. Mutter lahatil. So we'll say. So let me just tell you this. I will say, by the way, is actually, to me, this is a fascinating machlokes, because essentially what the Chazal are talking about, what they're really debating over here, is, all kidding aside, is the impact of traumatic circumstances even when the circumstance ends. Okay, where I'm making it a bit jocular in terms of the PTSD. But I will say, but the shaila really is over here, do we assume that traumatic events, I don't know, I would eventually say most of us have not been charged by an angry animal. Is that a safe assumption? Okay, good. I think I'm the closest one. I'm in the rabbinate, right? So I'm like the closest, right? So at the end of the day, what Chazal are really arguing about over here is halacha l'maisa. Is there some type of trauma even after the event is over? So also listen to this. So Shulchan Aruch Paskins, this is again in Shinyar Gimel Sif Dalid. Haya ha-bechar rodfo, if the bechar was running after me, uba'at bo, I kicked it, va'al yidei kein naaseh bo mum muter l'shachto. Fine, so that's the first halacha. If I injure it while it's running after me to save myself, I can check it based on that mum. Va'afilu ba'at bo la'achar shenitzol mimenu. And Shulchan Aruch Paskins, that even if you kick it after you are saved from it, ultimately again, you are permitted to go ahead and shecht based on that mum. Meaning that halacha l'maisa, we assume that the reason you kick it even after it charges you is because of the trauma of that event, and therefore again that's not considered to be being matel mum bekavana, and therefore you get shecht. The Shulchan Aruch doesn't discuss it, and I didn't look it up, and I'm sure the commentaries point out there has to be some window in that, right? In other words, I go over a year later to kick the bechar. You remember when you know? I can't imagine that's permitted, but assuming that there's some type of proximity or immediacy, it'd be permitted. So the Gemara goes weiter. I'm Rabbi Yehuda. We'll say fascinating halacha. You are permitted to go ahead and inflict a mum on a bechar before it comes into the world. Now, what's going on over here? Look at Rashi. Rashi's right across. Kodem sheyetze la'avir ha'olam the bechar in a kaddish ad shetikhadsha rechem. So I'll say ultimately again. So the bechar really is only kaddish ultimately after it comes out. We're going to see. So the Gemara says over here, if you were to go ahead and injure it while it's still inside of the womb, technically speaking, you could ultimately permit it from its birth. So the Gemara says, so Amar Rava Gadya ba'odnei imra bisvasei. So Rabbi just says, for example, you would go ahead and injure a gedi by cutting its ear, and a sheep in its lip. Rashi says, Gadja ba'odnei, gedi aznav aruchos v'kodem shiyatza korosho nira aznav. So apparently when the gedi comes out, it has longer ears, and the ears emerge first. So you could reach in, injure the ears, and the animal comes out as a balmum. Ika da amri imra nami, but others say you could injure a sheep in its ears as well. Eimer derech tzeda av nafak. That would ultimately be a case where the gedi was coming out sideways. Amar Rava, achal v'lo michzi. So we'll listen to this. Rava now discusses general mumin. If when an animal eats, let's say we're talking about a mum inside in the mouth. If when the animal eats, the mum is not visible, but payo michzi. But when the animal yells, I don't know if that's it, soik, right? When the animal yells, brays, whatever right, and then the mum is visible, have muma. So we'll say this is actually interesting. In other words, the only type of mum that goes ahead and allows for shechita is a mum galui, right? An observable mum. So what it's saying over here is if the animal eats, you can see the mum, but when it cries out, you can see the mum. That's considered to be a mum galui. Mike Kamashon, what's the chiddush? Tanina, we learned this. Hachutin achitzonos, the outer gums, shenifkamu v'shenigmamu. Right, if the outer gums of the animal ultimately again were injured or were receding, hapnimios, or the inner gums shenekru that were detached, the Gemara says ultimately is going to be a mum that allows for shechita of the animal. My timer, what's the reason? Isn't it because that when the animal cries out, these mumim become visible? The truth is, you're right. Rava is not coming to add in anything new. Rather, he's coming to explain the reasoning of the Mishnah. My time in nekru have muma. Why is it that ultimately, again, if it was detached, the gums were detached, it's a mum. Mishum dechipai mechsi. Because even though this mum might not be visible when the animal is eating, since it is visible when the animal is crying out, that's enough. That meets the criteria to be a mum galui. Beautiful. Says the Mishnah. Suppose this is an interesting case. Anytime, so let's say you have a following situation. You have a mum, animal shows up with a mum. So we'll say, so there are different types of mumins. Some mumin will be what we call naturally occurring mumin. Other times, an animal presents with a mum, and this mum could have been inflicted by a person. It could have been inflicted by a person. So what happens in the following situation? So we'll say if an animal presents with a mum that could have been inflicted by a person, so roe yisrael ne'emanin. So we're going to have to define these terms, but it sounds like roe yisrael, a yisrael shepherd is believed, although we're going to define these terms in the Gemara. Roim kohanim einon ne'emanin. But ultimately, again, the shepherds of kohanim are not believed. We'll see what that means. Rabbi Shmuel Omer, ne'eman hu al shel chavira ve'ne'eman hu avenein and ne'eman ashal atzmo. Rabbi Shmuel says, I am believed, I am ne'eman regarding someone else's animal, but I'm not believed what? Regarding my own. Rabbi Meir Omer, ha'choshad ala davar lo donav lo me'ido. Anyone who is chashid, who is suspect about anything, is not permitted to be a judge, to adjudicate in such a case, and of course is not permitted to go ahead and testify. Let's see what all of this means. Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Lazar. So I'll say first order of business is what's Roi Yisrael and what's Roi Kohanim. Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Lazar, Chad Amar, Roi Yisrael Be Kohanim Ne'emanim. Let's listen to this. So first, one opinion says like this. It means Roi Yisrael Be Kohanim. It means where the shepherd is a Yisrael, but he's working for a Kohen. He's working for a Kohen. So if the shepherd is a Yisrael, he's working for a Kohen, and what happens? The animal shows up, and the shepherd says, this was not an inflicted mum, this mum happened by itself. He is believed. Why? Because the legima lo chayshinan. See, Rabbi say, what would be the Yisrael's incentive to lie? Why would we assume he would lie? What does he get out of it? Well, remember, he does get something out of it because if the Bechor develops a mum and can then be shechted, we paskin that what? That anyone is permitted, Yisrael is permitted to eat from the Bechor. So maybe he wants a good dinner. He knows that if he says it's permitted, the Kohen is going to shecht it and they're going to have a delicious dinner. We're not choshesh for that. Roi Kohen be Yisrael in Ne'emanin. But I will say, if the shepherd is a Kohen, and the Kohen shepherd is working for Yisrael, and he comes along and testifies about the mum, we do not believe him. Why? Meimar avar kevan de katarach nabe lo shavik lididi v'yarv lachrini. Because I will say what happens? The Kohen shepherd thinks to himself, I'm going to get this Bechor. Right? I mean, at the end of the day, I work for this Yisrael. He's not going to go ahead and give this Bechor animal to someone else. He's going to give it to me. So because that the Kohen has a vested interest in lying, I, v'huadin, Kohen the Kohen. And I say the same thing would be if it was a Kohen shepherd working for a Kohen owner, Abba say in that case, we are concerned for reciprocity or for collusion between the Kohanim. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel comes along to say, Shmuel says that in general, a person is believed regarding someone else's property or regarding someone else's bechor, but not regarding his own. Rabbi Meir comes along and says, Meir says, listen, if you're chashud for something, then ultimately what? You are not believed to go ahead and you are not believed to be a judge or to be a witness regarding that matter. The Chad Amar, so what Rabbi Meir is saying to Rabbi Shimon Gamliel is, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, if you're going to tell me that I am not believed regarding my Bechor, but I'm believed regarding someone else's Bechor, it doesn't work that way. If you do not possess personal credibility, then what? You cannot be a witness or a judge for that matter regarding someone else. So if it's really true that people are not believed regarding their own Bechor animals, then you cannot become a judge or a witness for someone else's Bechor. The Chadam, I will say the other opinion says, Roi Yisrael vehin Kohanim ne'emanim. Well, the other opinion says, no, what it means is like this. If you have shepherds who work for Yisrael, but the shepherds themselves are Kohanim, they are believed. Why? Amud Beis, Meimar Amar, because ultimately, again, the Kohen shepherd says to himself, I'm not going to get the animal. Why? Lo shavik Torah me'rabana v'yoiv lididi. Because the Kohen says, look, even in the realm of Kohanim, not all Kohanim are created equal, right? There are Kohanim who are Amaratzim, there are Kohanim who are Talmidei Chachamim. So the shepherd says, listen, I'm a Kohen, but I'm an Amaretz. I'm an Amaretz. Right? Therefore, again, I'm sure that the owner of this animal is going to end up giving this Bechor animal to a Kohen Talmid Chacham, not to me. Therefore, the Kohen shepherd has no reason to lie. The Gemara says, Roi Kohanim ve'hen Yisrael. But if you have shepherds, right, Yisrael shepherds who work for Kohanim, einon ne'emanan. We ultimately, again, they are not believed. Why? Chayshinan le'legima. Because Rabbi says, since the Yisrael shepherd knows, that's what? That if the animal develops a mum, the Kohen is permitted to shecht it. Once he's permitted to shecht it, the Yisrael is permitted to partake of it. We're choshish that ultimately what? We're choshish that halacha l'maisa, the Yisrael shepherd is going to lie. The choshekein, Kohen the Kohen d'chayshinan, the gomun v'chayshinan l'legimin. I will say, all the more so we would not trust a Kohen shepherd who works for a Kohen for two reasons. Number one, because the Kohen might have a vested interest in lying, so he can eat from this Bechor as well. And we're also choshish for some type of reciprocity, for some type of collusion. Reb Shimon comes along and says that in general, a person is believed legabe someone else's Bechor, but not regarding his own Bechor. And then what happens? Rabbi Meir says, Rabbi Shimon, if that's true, you have a big problem. Once you say that a person does not possess personal credibility, then ultimately they do not possess credibility vis-a-vis the other as well. Says the Gemara, so I'll say two different approaches of the Mishnah. So it's according to the opinion who says that Roi Yisrael vehin Kohanim, that I will say if you have Kohanic shepherds who work for Yisrael, that those Kohanic shepherds are believed to say the animal developed womb on its own. Hainu da'aseh Rabbi Meir lemeimar hachashod ala davar lo danav lo me'ido. Then I will say, I understand why Rabbi Meir comes along and says anyone who is suspect regarding a particular matter cannot judge, cannot adjudicate, and cannot testify. What Rabbi Meir is saying about says in general, Kohanim lack credibility when it comes to Bechor. Both says that, remember again, this is one of these fascinating halachic realities. Although Kohanim are generally considered to be such zrizin in general and so trust, when it comes to Bechor, Bechor is their Achilles heel, right? Bechor is their weakness. They do not possess ne'emanah. So Rabbi Meir is coming along and saying that a Kohanic shepherd who works for Yisrael is not believed. But I will say ultimately again, the one who says that it's Rekan Bei Yisrael in Ne'emanin, that they're not believed, my Asra Meir Lashmin, and they will say, what is Rabbi Meir? Remember again, if you go with the opinion that says that indeed Kohanic shepherds who work for Yisrael are not believed, My asir Rabbi Meir lashmoinan. Right? What is Rabbi Meir coming to add? Hainu Tanakama. Rabbi Meir is effectively saying the same thing as the Tanakama. Both are saying that if you have a Kohen shepherd who works for a Yisrael owner, the Kohen is not believed to testify regarding the animal. To which the Gemara says, "Ika beinai Rabbi Yeshua ben Kapusai." So I'll say here's the nafkamina with Rabbi Meir and the Tanakama. Rabbi Yeshua ben Kapusai. The Sanya Rabbi Yeshua ben Kapusai Omer Bechar Bei Kohen Sarech Shnai Min Hashuk Lahaydar. Well, listen to this. Rabbi Yeshua ben Kapusai says that if there is a Bechar from a Kohanic household, you require what? 2 independent witnesses from the Shuk to go ahead and testify about that animal. So look at Rashi. Tzarech Shnai Min Hashuk Shnaim Kol Shehin Va'afilo Kohanim Ava Kohanim Shebebeiso Lo. So Rabbi Yeshua ben Kapusai says that if you have a Kohanic Bechar and it develops a mum, 2 independent people. Right? The idea is you need independent testimony. The independent witnesses can be Kohanim also, but they just can't be Kohanim of the same household. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Omer, Afilu Bino Ubito. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says, the halacha l'maisa, even one's own children are permitted to go ahead and what? And testify regarding their father's bechar. So as I go back up to Rashi just a moment, Tzarech Shnai Min Hashuk, Tanakama is laid Rabbi Yosha ben Kapusai. So Tanakama holds Rabbi Yosha ben Kapusai, the Kamer Tanakama, Roy Kohanim Bein. So let's see. So we'll see this in the Gemara. So we'll say, therefore, the Gemara suggests that the position of Rabbi Yosha ben Kapusai is the nafkamina between the Tanakama, ultimately again, and Rabbi Meir. So we'll say now we have machlokes, Rabbi Yosha ben Kapusai, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Rabbi Yossi says, Afilu asara vehein b'nei beisa in mi'idin. Rabbi Yossi says, anyone who is a part of the Kohen's household is not permitted to testify regarding the Bechar. That Allah Chalamaysa, they are not believed. So Kiman Azlahav Dam Rav Chisda Amar Rav Katina. So we'll say, in accordance with whose opinion was the following statement made? Safek Bechar Shenolad Be'Yisra. We'll say if you have a Safek Bechar, what's the simplest case of Safek Bechar? An animal gives birth to twins. Right? This is her first birth. Right? The Rachel, the sheep gives birth to twins, and I will say what? We don't, obviously one of them was born first, but we don't know which one. That's the case of Safek Bachar. So what happens? So Tzarech Shnai Min Hashuk Laha'id Alav, you require ultimately two witnesses from the Shuk to testify about which one is the Bachar. Look at Rashi. It's the last of the intermediate lines in Rashi. So we'll say, so the case over here is that what occurred. So we'll say, so 2 animals are born. Safek, which one is the Bechar? One of them, then what happens? One of them develops a mum. So you require 2 from the Shuk to testify that the mum was not inflicted, but rather the mum occurred on its own. So whose opinion does this reflect? Kiman. Rabbi Yeshua ben Kapusai. Both say this would seem to reflect the opinion of Rabbi Yeshua ben Kapusai, who says that in general, when it comes to a Bechar Bei Kohen, you need 2 from the Shuk to testify about it. So Rav Nachman says, Bailim mi'idin alov. So Rav Nachman says, even the owners can testify about a Bechar. Di'ilo teimahachi, because if you don't say this, Meiser the Rabbi Meir mi meyed alov. Then according to Rabbi Meir, ultimately again, who could be meyed legabi meiser behema? Then I will say, now what does this mean? Look at Rashi for just a moment. Rashi says over here, meiser Rabbi Meir mi meyed alav. So we'll say, well, let's just see it outside because of time. Who's ultimately again, who is going to be believed to be made about a meiser behema animal which develops a mum? To which the Gemara says, Meiser is not a good example. Meiser Vaden, everybody agrees when it comes to Meiser Behema that even the owner is believed in terms of the mum. Why? We'll say, listen to this. If the owner wanted, I will say, what could he do? Before he goes ahead and has the animals come out of the pen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, he could inflict the mum actively upon all of the animals in the pen. And if he wanted to do that, that's absolutely okay. So because he has the right to do that, he is believed to say that the mum developed on its own by Meiser Behema. So the Gemara says, Ella Safek Bachar Rabbi Meir Mi Meid Alav. Rather, Rabbi say, we're asking over here is in the case of Safek Bachar, in accordance with Rabbi Meir, does he have the ability to testify about it? V'chi Teimha Hachanami de Lesle. Takanta. Maybe you'll say over here, what is the other remedy? We'll say, right, what is the other possibility? So V'hatnan, we learn Shir Rabbi Yossi Omer Kol Shechalifav Biat Kohen Pata Min HaMatanos. We'll say an interesting case. Any time that the Kohen has an exchange, if you look at Rashi, this is in Rashi in the wide lines, about 8 lines up from the bottom. Shechalifa biad Kohen, kegon hai safek bechar, shakohen not lesachav. But remember again, in the case of safek, so what happens? The owner keeps one, and the Kohen keeps one. Any case, where there's a chalifin, where one of the animals is in the hands of the Kohen, patam min matanos. Ultimately, again, when the Yisrael shechts his animal, he is not obligated to go ahead and give matanos on the animal to the Kohen. Meir says, you're chayiv, sh'elish shmamina, bailin mi'idin alav. Rather, what do you see from here? The owners are in fact believed to testify regarding their animal. Kohanim hu dechashidi amumi, Yisrael lo chashidi amumi. There's only the Kohanim who are chashid ultimately to inflict mumin on the Bechar animal, but ultimately Yisrael ultimately is not chashid to inflict a mum on the animal. So we'll say, so still halacha lamaisa, what do we do? Meaning, Rabbi said this is a major machlokes in terms of who has credibility to testify regarding a bechar. So here we go. Let's just finish this. Itmar Rav Nachman Amar halacha Reb Shimon Gamliel. Rav Nachman says that the halacha follows Reb Shimon Gamliel. But Reb Shimon Gamliel says afilu bino afilu bito. Even one's own children are permitted to testify regarding the bechar. Rava Amar halach Rabbi Yossi. Rava says the halacha follows Rabbi Yossi, who says that Rabbi say even if 10 people show up, but they are part of my household, they are not believed. Rabbi Yossi says you need independent corroboration, independent edus. Umiyama Rava Hachi, did Rava really say this? Va'amar Rava ba'alav omeid imanu b'chutz nichnas shalem v'yatzachavo mi'idin alav. Rabbi Yossi says that halacha l'maisa, if the bechar went into the house shalem, right, whole, healthy, and it comes out of the house ultimately again with a mum, right, mi'idin alav, who will say who is permitted to testify. Even the owner is permitted to testify. Ema kol bailim omdin v'lo chayshi. Ultimately, again, let's say that what's the case? I will say that's only a case where all of the owners, i.e., everyone, all members of the household, were outside of the house at the time that the bechar went in. Right? If everyone was outside of the house at the time that the bechar went in, then what? We know no one from the household inflicted the blemish on the bechar. Ihachi ma'ila memra. If that's the case, so what's there to say? So nechush l'chashada. Maybe ultimately again we should be choshesh that maybe the roeh, maybe the shepherd himself inflicted the mum. Kamash mala, no. Kamash Rabbi say that that's not the case. V'ilchasa Reb Shimon Gamliel. And we'll say the halacha follows Reb Shimon Gamliel, who allows even the son and the daughter of the owner to go ahead and testify regarding the bechar. V'dafka b'no ubito, but it's dafka son and daughter. Aval ishto lo, but not your wife. My taima ishto kegufo dami. Ultimately, again, because one's wife is like himself, and therefore halacha l'maisa, again, just like he does not have credibility, his wife does not have credibility. Beautiful Sheva Brachas Vart. Right? So let's finish this. So actually, I'm going to stop over here, but let me show you this quick halacha. So the Shulchan Aruch Paskins is very important. Again, although we're not finished with this, but I do want to give you just the concrete halacha. Shin Yodalit Sif Beis. Kol hamumin haru'uy and lavo bidei adam. I want to say, as long as the mum looks like, right? So if a mum looks like, it could have been caused by a person. I guess there are certain types of mumin that are clearly naturally occurring. But there are other types of mumin which could have been inflicted by a person. Ne'eman haroa aleim lomar, me'eleihem naflu v'lo na'asu b'kavana, v'yishchatan. So we'll say, ultimately again, the roeh, the shepherd, is believed to say this happened by itself, and therefore you could check based on that mum. When is that true? Kishahaya haroa Yisrael v'abechar biyad Kohen. I will say, when is this true? This is true if the shepherd is a Yisrael and the owner was a Kohen. Avalim haya haroa Kohen v'abechar adayin hu biyad balav Yisrael hareze eino ne'eman. V'choshtin also shema hu hitel b'mum kidei sheyit nenalo. So both say, so therefore halacha l'maisa, Halacha l'maisa. So the Shulchan Aruch says like this: when do we say that the shepherd is believed? This is when it is a Yisrael shepherd, and the animal belongs to a Kohen. But if the shepherd is a Kohen, then ultimately, again, the shepherd is not believed. Why? We'll say it makes sense. Because if the shepherd is a Kohen, there's a chashash, that's what? That he's giving this testimony because he's going to be the beneficiary of it. Because if it's a Bechor Balbum, then he hopes the Yisrael is going to give it to him and he'll be able to shecht it. Kohen, Yisrael. So that's halacha l'maisa, piece number one. I will say we're going to expand this. We're going to see that essentially, ultimately, again, if you have a Yisrael shepherd is believed for one simple reason: he has no reason to lie. A Kohen shepherd for a Yisrael is not a Kohen who's shepherding for a Yisrael. A Kohen who works for Yisrael is not believed. Why? Because halacha l'maisa, he has every reason to lie. Because if it's a balmum, he's hopeful that he's going to get the animal. One more case. What about Kohen shehed lekohen? So I will say. So therefore, here's what we have: Kohen works for Yisrael. What's the halacha? Not believed. Yisrael works for a Kohen, is believed. What about a Kohen who works for a Kohen? So therefore, in this case, the Shulchan Aruch says, Kohen shehed lekohen acher shamumu zed me'ilav nafal ne'aman. Vein choshishin lahem shema gomlim zed zed. Both say, if a Kohen works for a Kohen and he testifies about the mum, he is also believed. Why? Because they will say, bepashtos, he's not going to benefit from this. Who's going to benefit from it? The owner, right? There's already a Kohen owner. So we'll say, so essentially what comes out is, anytime we're choshesh that the shepherd will benefit from testifying that the mum occurred on its own, he is not believed. So therefore, again, one more time, Kohen shepherd, Yisrael owner, Eino Ne'eman. Yisrael shepherd, Kohen owner, Ne'eman. Kohen shepherd, Kohen owner, Ne'eman. Right, we'll stop over here. We'll pick up here Mitzvah Hashem tomorrow.
What's the normal? What normally happens? I want to make sure we're off camera.
We're not. No. It's forever. Yeah.